Welcome back to the channel, where lavish gates don't just conceal power and wealth, they lock away secrets capable of destroying an entire family. In today's video, we're stepping deep into the shadows of Fairmont Crest, where death is never the end, but only the beginning of truths buried for far too long. One final secret, a confession left unspoken, and people pushed to the brink by the fear of exposure. If you think you already know everything about Beyond the Gates, stay with us until the very end, because what's about to be revealed could completely change the way you see every character. And no one is truly innocent. Darkness always arrives before the truth in Fairmont Crest, and Peach's death did not merely close the chapter of one life, it opened a cascade of unanswered questions, as if someone had deliberately arranged for this tragedy to strike at the exact moment when every relationship was stretched to its breaking point. No one knows how long Peaches carried that secret with her. All that remains are the final signs she left behind, like scattered fragments of a grim portrait in which greed, betrayal, and fear intertwined so tightly that the line between victim and mastermind all but disappears. It is that silence before her death that truly shook Fairmont Crest, planting in Leslie's mind a chilling premonition that everything she once trusted may have been nothing more than a flawlessly constructed facade. Leslie enters the search for truth, torn between fury and suspicion, because every clue Peaches left behind points to the fact that she did not act alone. The truth begins to surface in the cruelest way, as Leslie realizes that Peaches was pushed into the role of a fraud, not only to mislead the public, but also to protect a far greater secret tied to the Dupree inheritance fund. Torn documents, altered figures, and traces of a DNA test that was switched years ago makes it impossible for Leslie to keep pretending this is merely a personal matter. Her anger no longer targets only Peaches, who chose silence for far too long, but also herself for dismissing the warning signs and now being forced to face the devastating consequences. Peach's death is like a blade cutting deep into Fairmont Crest, exposing fractures that had long existed within the Dupree family. Anita, with her familiar composed exterior, begins to make moves that cannot escape scrutiny, from hastily concealing old files to becoming defensive whenever Peach's name is mentioned. Inside Anita, a violent emotional storm rages, where the fear of losing control collides with fury that her sacrifices may prove meaningless. She understands all too well that if this secret comes to light, not only her reputation, but the very foundation of power she has built over years will collapse, and that realization makes her willing to make colder, more ruthless decisions than ever before. Cott, standing in a different yet equally perilous position, is pulled into this vortex with mounting confusion. Her anxiety stems not only from the sense that her family is hiding something horrific, but also from the deeply personal fear that she herself may be part of a distorted truth. She's torn between loyalty to her family and the desperate need to know who she truly is. And with every new clue Leslie uncovers, Cott feels herself being pushed closer to the edge. A simmering anger grows within her, directed at those who chose her fate without her consent, and at herself for once believing that silence meant safety. Meanwhile, Leslie begins to understand that Peach's death was anything but random. It was the result of a carefully calculated chain of actions. Someone benefited from Peach's losing the chance to reveal the whole truth, and that person understood the destructive power of this secret better than anyone else. Each step Leslie takes forward triggers a chain reaction, making those involved increasingly wary, even hostile. She can feel the invisible pressure tightening around her, as if Fairmont Crest itself is issuing a silent warning that there are doors meant to remain closed. A profound sense of loss blankets everything, not only the loss of Peaches, but the loss of the illusion of a stable, enduring family order. The truth emerges in the most painful way, as Leslie realizes that Peaches accepted the label of traitor in exchange for someone else's safety, a decision that may have been driven by promises or threats from the most powerful figures in Fairmont Crest. Leslie's anger is no longer merely personal emotion. It becomes the force driving her to dig deeper, Regardless of the dangers lurking ahead, Fairmont Crest begins to tremble as relationships are tested to their absolute limits. Suspicious glances, heavy silences, and decisions made in the shadows suffocate the air. Anita faces the looming choice between protecting her family and clinging to the secret that has sustained her power. Cott stands before a painful decision: neither accept a truth that could destroy her, or continue living within a safe but hollow lie. Leslie, at the center of the storm, knows that every next step could be her last. The most terrifying thing lies not in what Peaches left behind, but in the void of what was never spoken. That void hangs like a curse, forcing the living to confront the darkest parts of themselves. And as Leslie continues to piece together the final fragments, she realizes that the truth, once exposed, will not save anyone. It will only demand a price paid in collapse, pain, and irreversible loss, leaving Fairmont Crest more fragile than ever. A place where no one can be certain that tomorrow will be safe. And just when it seems that every final clue has been tied off, Fairmont Crest sinks even deeper into a terrifying silence, where every light that flickers on could signal the start of a new scheme. Peach's secret, though partially exposed, still leaves behind dangerous gaps, as if someone is deliberately steering the truth off course to protect a name that has yet to be spoken. Leslie knows she is crossed beyond the line of safety, while Anita and Cott now stand at a point of no return, where a single wrong decision could shatter everything they have fought to preserve. A growing sense of unease spreads as a new detail emerges, one troubling enough to raise the question of whether Peaches was truly the only one who had to die for this secret to remain buried, or whether the price yet to come will be far more horrific. And if the truth is finally revealed, who will be willing to make another sacrifice to keep the gates of Fairmont Crest from being thrown wide open? The answer is drawing dangerously close, and it may leave no one recognizing themselves in the next episode.